It's not much of a statement to suggest that something that's existed for over 15 years has changed somewhat in that period. I've been on YouTube in some way or another since its earliest days. I was about 9 years old when it first really started taking off. For better or for worse, I watched channels like Ray William Johnson and Shane Dawson come and go, but I also watched a lot of cool, genuine people make things that they were passionate about. Because of the nature of YouTube, the fact that anyone could upload just about anything they wanted at any given time, it was this beautiful free-for-all where so many people who wouldn't have been given an opportunity otherwise were able to make something of themselves. It felt like the people's medium, something that had the potential to become a genuine alternative to TV, and I think it's fair to say that it has. As we speak, YouTube is overtaking TV in almost every conceivable metric, and in order to do so, it's had to change. But I think the ways it's had to change often go misunderstood and misrepresented. I've been making videos on YouTube for nearly 3 years now. I've been making money from doing so for a year and a half, and I also basically grew up on the internet. Not having a male role model in your life will do that to you. I taught myself to fucking shave with a YouTube tutorial, okay? Yeah, I know. Thanks, the men in my life. So I like to think I'm pretty qualified to tell you what are the actual problems with YouTube that perhaps you only ever hear alluded to. I don't think it's a secret that I and many others think the platform has lost a lot of itself over the years, and that we've been disenfranchised with the way it's going for some time now. I'm going to be drawing a lot on my own stories and personal experiences to shed some light on the issues as the title implies, but this isn't all about me, and I promise I'm not just making this video out of petty revenge over a few pretty frustrating months on YouTube. I'm doing so to give the video some colour and to hopefully reinforce a lot of the points I'm going to be making. I do believe that the overall message of this video is pretty universal, if not also quite depressing, so let's just bite the bullet already and take a dive. But not before a message from this video's sponsor, Raid Shadow Legends. Oh mate, I fucking love me some Raid Shadow Legends. Woo boy! I'm a level 64 Goblin Archmage, and you can join my guild right now by just entering the code Death of Culture at the main. If you go looking for the issues people have with YouTube nowadays, especially YouTubers themselves, some variation of the algorithm is likely the first thing you'll find. The algorithm meaning the way that YouTube decides which videos to push to you, to put in your recommended section, to put on the side of videos you're already watching, and so on and so forth. And don't get me wrong, in a roundabout way, it is the problem. It often seems to do nothing but shove the most obnoxious clickbait in your face, whilst products of actual passion and quality are completely undiscoverable. But as someone who very much wanted to gain more attention and visibility and subscribers throughout 2019 and early 2020, and turn this into a job and thus did a lot of research on the mighty algorithm, I hate to break it to you, but it makes a lot of sense. At least conceptually, anyway. I watched countless videos on the mechanics of the algorithm by YouTube themselves and other people too to try and understand how it works, and to put it bluntly, it just works exactly how you'd expect it to. It's simple, really. YouTube rewards watch time and engagement. The more minutes your video has been watched for, the more reactions it's drawn from people, comments, likes, and dislikes before they were removed, all told YouTube that for better or for worse, your stuff was keeping people engaged, and that's what they want. People to spend more time on their site. Dislikes hardly even harmed a video at all. Clicking on for 10 seconds and then clicking off, that's how you fuck with a video's visibility. But to put it in simple terms, YouTube values engagement so much that it never cared to consider a dislike count when lowering a video's visibility. There was no distinction made in regards to likes being good or dislikes being bad. They were just seen as overall engagement and were pretty much a boon to a video's chances on the algorithm regardless. Now, is this necessarily moral? No, I don't think so. Videos are disliked for a reason, and it's pretty draconian to push them regardless of how offensive or upsetting some could be just because they're making people watch. It's shit like that that appeals to the lowest common denominator, that strange category of YouTube trash TV where you just watch someone's life fall apart in real time. But unfortunately, from the perspective of a company in today's society who just want to make money, it does make sense. There is far too much content uploaded to YouTube every minute for any amount of humans to ever manually review them and decide what deserves to do well on the algorithm and what doesn't. And quality in such a medium is so incredibly subjective, and so watch time and engagement are almost undoubtedly the most sensible metrics for an algorithm to decide that a video is pleasing, or perhaps more accurately, satiating the viewer. and push it to more people. The algorithm is quite easy to understand when you really get down to it, and I will admit to having complained about it a lot of times, but that's because I, much like I suspect many others, just didn't have the energy to say the way that people use and abuse the algorithm and the knock-on effects that's had on content as a whole is the problem, even though it actually is. Understanding the need to keep people watching and evoke a response, people on YouTube have obviously been drawn to making the most sensational and instantly gratifying things possible. When there's room to make money, people will game the system and try to make as much money as possible. This is true in all walks of life. So when you see someone, even myself included, bemoaning the algorithm as the scourge of modern YouTube, that's simplifying things a bit. It runs deeper than that, and we'll get to it later. This being said, there are some very weird oddities in the way YouTube works that can seriously affect people's livelihoods, because this is some people's jobs, and sometimes a weird glitch that even YouTube can't explain can just cause you to lose out on money through no fault of your own. In the past week alone, before starting work on this video, I received messages telling me that YouTube had randomly unsubscribed someone from my channel without their knowing, and that someone who dinged the notification bell also wasn't receiving notifications for my videos. You could chalk these up as isolated incidents, but if I really went digging, I could find tons of identical messages from other people from the last few months alone, as I'm sure a lot of YouTubers could. For a site on which many people build their careers, YouTube need to be better than letting these silly and seemingly innocuous glitches slip through the cracks. YouTube support is at the very least more reachable than it's ever been, but frankly, and certainly from my experience, they hardly ever seem to know what's actually causing these weird little occurrences either. And it needs to be said that because of the increasingly gargantuan nature of the site, and because of YouTube's serious lack of implementation of really anything to help new YouTubers get discovered, it is disproportionately, ridiculously hard to take off on YouTube in the first place. We have a trending tab and a whole bunch of categories, but nothing specifically for finding people with, say, under 5,000 subscribers. In 2020, it was estimated that there were 38 million channels on YouTube. 32 million of those had between 10 subscribers and 1,000 subscribers, the threshold for monetization. An astronomical amount of people, a hugely overwhelming majority of channels quit before ever reaching that supposed promised land, and really, who can blame them? Building a career on YouTube in the first place can often feel like having to win the lottery, just throwing a whole bunch of shit at the wall to see what sticks, and when it does, hey, congratulations, you did it! And now people will automatically assume that this is all you've ever done and all you will ever do, and if you're not careful, you'll find yourself pigeonholed into making exactly that kind of stuff for a very long time. This is what happened to me with a video that got me monetized, and I can tell you that finally getting over that hump was very much a double-edged sword. The idea that a film critic could make a bunch of movie reviews and then a video about fucking Mission Impossible blows up, and then they suddenly have to become a Mission Impossible YouTuber keeps me up at night. Your entire livelihood, all of your creative energy has to go into this. This one series of movies is your life now. Ugh. When I was first trying to get discovered on YouTube whilst researching the algorithm to see what I could do to boost my chances, I obviously came across a lot of suggestions as a result, and perhaps nothing was more helpful than, on multiple people's advice, getting a browser extension to help with metadata related things like tags and titles, which are very important for giving your video a fighting chance. I bought TubeBuddy and would honestly say it was a huge help. It allowed me to understand how tags and titles work and how many little optimizations you can give to your video in the data department without having to take a bunch of pictures of yourself going, huh? Whilst I was learning about TubeBuddy and soaking in all this advice from self-professed metadata experts and analysts though, I had something else suggested to me on numerous occasions that I still haven't forgotten about, purely because of how fucking sad it is. A common strategy on YouTube, at least certainly among these tech gurus, is this little thing they called siphoning, wherein you literally use a browser extension to see what the tags are of an extremely popular video that's at least somewhat similar to one you're planning to make, and just steal them, in the hopes that people looking for that video will be recommended yours instead. It was incredible to watch these fucking androids just recommend straight up copying someone else's tags for your own purposes with no hint of shame or embarrassment whatsoever. Now don't get it twisted, they're YouTube tags, right? They're not exactly valuable, they're not worth anything. This siphoning thing isn't pure evil or anything, I just think it's really fucking pathetic. These people have such little pride in their work that they're happy to just go out of their way to try and coast off someone else's success. It's all about making money to them. It's just a formality, nothing but business. And it's a great insight to how people view YouTube in the modern era and how they approach discoverability and the algorithm. And with that thought in mind, let's get to the heart of the issue.
It's disappointing to me. It is. It's disappointing what YouTube is. You know, you go to the trending page of YouTube, it is late night talk show clips and movie trailers and ironic advertisements by corporations who are making, you know, celebrities can't go viral. I don't believe that, and yet all the viral videos are celebrities that have millions of subscribers and built-in audiences. I thought it was going to be a platform for the people to, you know what I mean, truly, like, you know, and, but, you know, they're smart. The big guys are smart, and they know how to get in there and work it, and, you know, the real people making real things is still available, but a lot of it is, you know, that's a bummer to me. It is. I don't think someone like me at that time at 16 could be discovered now, because they have to compete with, you know, YouTube actually is, I know it seems like the corniest thing, full of the corniest people doing the corniest stuff. It's like, oh, YouTube is just like people eating hot peppers and like people like opening PlayStation 4s or whatever they do. Like, it's actually like if you dig past the surface, you see it's like wells of just like raw humanity. You know, like someone just doing vlogs because their father is dying and just walking you through every day of what that means. Not because they're looking for views, because they just need to actually say it out loud. And you go through the comments, and these people have 500 views or 300, like, and there's just, it's everywhere all the time. So it's the greatest research source in the world for me.
So that exists on YouTube. But you stated you have some sadness about where it's...
I'm not saying that guy's like walking through your father's death should be trending. That's not what I'm saying, obviously. Yeah. I'm just saying, you know what I mean? It's like The Rock, Kevin Hart, you've went viral enough. Like, chill out. There are other kids that want...
Yeah. You wish that more people could see more of that work.
I just wish it wasn't a medium for like all the other mediums to like go and make jokes on, or like, I don't know. You know what I'm saying? It's just like music videos and Jimmy Fallon throwing a bowl of Skittles at like a cutout of a dog. Or I don't get it. I don't get it. It was supposed to be like our media. It's supposed to be like the French Revolution. It was supposed to be like the people. But I guess they're people too, technically. They're lizards with people's skins.
All right, with lizards with people's skins, I think...
I'm sure you're familiar with Bo Burnham by now, but for those of you who have been living under a rock for the last 8 years, he's a comedian with 3 extremely successful Netflix specials and a ton of other various creative projects. He got his start on YouTube. In its earliest days, he wrote and recorded a bunch of comedic songs for his brother, which blew up and became the launching pad for him to get where he is now. Because of this, he is almost inextricably linked to YouTube, and in the years since his success, he's had a lot of sad and completely correct things to say about the site. I think the thing that strikes me the most about the clip I just showed you is the part where he says that if he started today, and this was a few years ago, that he doesn't think he'd be discovered, and sadly, I think he's right. When I started YouTube, I started doing it for a few reasons, but chief among them was because I felt like it was the best place for me to do what I wanted to do. To celebrate 10,000 subscribers, I made a video partially about Breath of the Wild. Sorry, new viewers, I'm a gamer. I promise I have life skills, okay? Look, here's an F major chord. But also partially about what happened in my life leading up to my decision to do YouTube. And to give you the short version, it was that I attempted a creative venture, in this instance performing stand-up comedy around London where I was studying at the time, and enjoying it and finding that I was quite good at it, but not quite feeling like it was right for me. I didn't quite feel like I fit in with that crowd, and I thought I could do something similarly creatively fulfilling on the internet, where my people are. And that led to where we are today. I'm a creative at heart. I want to make funny, silly things, but things that are real, that have depth and have meaning. And it's fair to say I had to throw a lot of shit at the wall to get that, but I think I eventually found a groove. And here's what I've learned since. YouTube is not a place for creativity. Not anymore. I knew this to an extent going in. I knew that at the time it was dominated by stream highlights and reaction videos with only a couple of really interesting and authentic people making stuff at the top, but I don't think I realised quite how far gone it was. I always told myself that I didn't mind swimming against the current and that I'd just have the grit to tough it out and get where I wanted. And hey, I got to 50,000 subscribers. I never had any specific goal in mind, but that's crazy. That's a place so few people ever get. But yeah, getting there my way was long and arduous and mentally exhausting and not financially healthy whatsoever. It still isn't. Here's a pretty insane statistic. The average human attention span in the year 2000 was 12 seconds. The average human attention span in 2015 was 8.25 seconds. A drop of nearly 25% in 15 years. That is absolutely unreal. And I'm sure it's pretty obvious why that is. On the internet, we are well and truly inundated with stuff all the time. Platforms like TikTok and Vine have pioneered this form of instant gratification where you get the joke or the point of something in literal seconds. Social media platforms like Twitter and Facebook market to you so aggressively and are designed in such a way that you are bombarded with so many unnecessary details about other people's lives and world events all the time that it's no wonder that no one can focus on one thing for any meaningful amount of time anymore, because the whole time, subconsciously you're thinking, what am I missing out on? How many things am I not knowing or seeing right now by just giving my attention to this one thing? I use social media quite a bit myself, and it's been a good thing for me in a lot of ways, but I'm not blind. These are the effects of social media, and this is what is plaguing YouTube right now. So far more than it is accurate to say that the algorithm is the problem with YouTube nowadays, it might be accurate to say that you are the problem with YouTube nowadays. Because shit like this is what you want. You love this shit. Takes all the time. Other people's opinions on things. Objectivity. You need to know exactly what the video is before you watch it, or at least in the first 20 seconds, because time is a currency and you don't want to waste it. And to that end, almost every big video on this site has to fucking smack you over the head with what the point is before you even watch it, so you're not scared of wasting that time. Huge obnoxious expressions because we're scientifically drawn to human faces. Red and yellow arrows all over the place, and not a second wasted on letting things sink in or letting the viewer think for themselves. It might also be fair to say that I am the problem with YouTube, because I'm the exact same. Inspired artists and creators still exist on this platform, making cool shit and going against the grain, and I'd sooner watch WatchMojo's fucking top 10 scenes with the villain on the roof of the car any day. Fuck taking my time with interpretation and artfulness. I need someone else's opinion injected into me right now, because I do not have the time to form my own opinion. My brain is going a mile a minute just thinking about all the information on the internet I might be missing out on, and I don't have the mental capacity to wait for your cool art to have its profound effect on me or whatever. In my field of #gaming, the video essay is huge, as I think it's fair to say it is in most fields of media. Video essays are certainly something I respect a hell of a lot more than most of the stuff that does well on this site right now, because they clearly take work and thought to make, and the author usually has to provide you with somewhat of a look into a real person. But the reason they're so meta right now is because they're so fundamentally easy to understand. When you click on one of these, you have a vague idea of what the person's opinion on this piece of media is, and now you're just going to hear them elaborate. When it comes down to it, there's not a lot of creativity in this. It is just a person giving you their opinion on a thing, and maybe they'll choose to frame it in at least a slightly interesting way. They get to have that thing where their titles and thumbnails tell you exactly what you're getting yourself in for, and that's pretty much the only reason that some of the long-form content that still exists on YouTube is able to succeed. There are so many people making video essays and reviews on stuff nowadays that, at least in the field of video games, it genuinely feels like the content creators are outgrowing the content. There's been so many people doing and saying effectively the same stuff for so long now that it feels like we're outpacing the rate at which content comes out, and now people are having to resort to the most oddly specific shit, like the second level in each Mario game ranks from most to least orange, to even have a semblance of originality. I think this in some sense does extend to YouTube as a whole. It feels like there are 4 kinds of videos that do well on the platform right now, and that no one has any new ideas. A lot of people are talking lately about the site Nebula as an alternative. I know little about it other than that it's essentially trying to do YouTube, but right and more authentically. People have asked me if I'd ever consider moving to Nebula, and hey, I'm sure Nebula's great right now. But unfortunately, in a good few years' time, I believe that Nebula will eventually fall to the exact same vicious cycle. All of a sudden, people will have to ask themselves questions of profit and sustainability, how they can make a living doing what they do, and eventually stop making art and start making content. Farting out the lowest effort shit as fast as possible to keep people's attention and stay afloat. This is what happens to creatives when everything has to be for profit. Because while it may be slightly accurate to suggest that the algorithm is the problem with YouTube, and it may be pretty accurate to suggest that you and I are the problem with YouTube, it would by far be most accurate to suggest that capitalism is the problem with YouTube. Sorry gamers, I know you guys don't do too well with politics, but I didn't make a Halloween video this year, and I didn't have the money for one of those funny but cruel Christmas presents. Your attention is a currency, everyone wants it, and everyone is competing for it, so you're being assaulted from every angle by the biggest, loudest, and brightest things that the lizard people can make. Have a look at my channel, look at what the most successful videos are, I'm sure you'll notice a pattern. The ones where it's very clearly a video essay or my opinion on something are by far the ones that have done the best. The much more interesting and creative ones that I'm far more proud of have flopped. I did these series called The D-View and The World's Worst Review, and the very premise of these videos is intended as a kind of parody of the video essay / review landscape of YouTube right now. They're videos in which I quote unquote review a game without ever once using the words good or bad or any of their synonyms, so as to let the viewer try and make their own mind up and try and flex my creative writing skills. And not to pat myself on the back too much, but I don't think I realised at the time quite how much this worked as a parody of YouTube as a whole. They don't give the viewer the point right away, they're very intentionally convoluted at times and ask the viewer to listen closely, whilst also mostly just being a front for ridiculous jokes. I'm immensely proud of them, they're my baby, and literally 2 days ago, as I record this audio, someone who had clearly not watched more than 30 seconds of the latest one, nor read the description in which the premise of the video is literally explained to them, commented telling me to fuck off because videos called The World's Worst Review of insert thing are highly likely to get the writer harassed. Buddy, your heart's in the right place, but the writer is me. If it weren't for your little TikTok attention span, you might have figured that out. It's highly likely that this video will do significantly better than any of these videos I'm actually proud of, because it's what you actually want. Someone complaining about something and possibly causing drama in a very easily and instantly understandable way. And that's really quite sad, isn't it? Gita Jackson recently wrote this excellent article that I'm going to link in the description called Mr. Beast's Squid Game ripoff is exactly the kind of video YouTube rewards. She makes the point that the creator economy nowadays is not about creation, but about reacting. And she's fucking spot on. Content creator might be the most generous job title in circulation today. A large majority of the people who make a living on YouTube aren't creating anything. It's more like they're just being paid to exist on screen. They're reacting in a variety of ways to things that already exist and trying to market themselves to you as the best person to watch do that. At the 2020 Game Awards, Valkyrae won Content Creator of the Year. I mean no disrespect to Valkyrae with what I'm about to say, I don't know much about her, but she seems like a perfectly nice and reasonable person. But if you looked at her channel at the time, it was quite literally nothing but Among Us stream highlights that she'd undoubtedly paid an editor for as far as the eye can see. And if you look at her channel nowadays, I still find it quite hard to come across anything she's created. Like I say, it's more like she's just kind of living and existing and showing snippets of that. Is this creation? Is this what it is to be one of the best creators in your field? Let's just start calling them e-celebs and be done with it. I think the saying, don't hate the player, hate the game, is worth flagging up here. As frustrating as YouTube is nowadays, I don't think it's productive or fair to take it out on these people. This is the world we live in, and these people just want to try and make a living doing what they love. This is what an internet society deeply entrenched in late-stage capitalism looks like. I knew what I was getting myself into when I started YouTube, wanting to succeed in my specific way, and there's a very real argument to be made that all of the grievances I have with it are my own stupid fault, due to my own stubborn pride. If you can muster up the attention span for a second article today, by the way, I'd recommend Julia Alexander's The Golden Age of YouTube is Over, which delves into the way YouTube has obviously and unsurprisingly favoured corporations and advertisers over its homegrown content spewers. I came here because I wanted to make stuff that was real, stuff that would last. But as even I find myself rewatching the old Little Karibo and Tim Rogers stuff that inspired me less nowadays because I feel so overwhelmed with all of the new stuff I could be watching, I'm starting to realise that I don't think this is the place for that anymore like I once did. I'm not sure this is a place for real stuff by real people that lasts. It's a place where you're incentivized to pump something out as soon as possible, no matter how mediocre or uninspired it may be. YouTube has overtaken TV, and now we come to it for the same reasons we used to go to TV. To switch our brains off and stick some shit on in the background. And as a result, the people making things for it have started making stuff that's less stimulating, less inspired, and less challenging than ever before. It's just kind of content, which, in case you've forgotten, is just another word for stuff. There are certainly still people out there hitting it big and making cool shit. Both of the guys I just mentioned among them, and I think you should check them out, but they are exceptions to the rule. This isn't single-handedly the algorithm's fault, or the content creator's fault. This is just the way the world is now. I am an optimist at heart. I really hate being so dour about something in such a way, but I don't really see any way that it can or will change or improve anytime soon. All I can suggest is if there are any people making really cool shit on this site that you really love and that you really believe in, support them in any way you can, because I suspect they need it now more than ever. So, yeah, it turns out capitalism was the problem all along. Shit, who knew? With the pretty pessimistic vibe of this video, I imagine I'll be having a lot of people asking me, what's next? And to that, my answer is WALL-E. It's the last act of WALL-E. Easy, next question. Hey, thanks for watching is weird, isn't it? That's a really weird thing that we've just normalised over the years. I like to believe that you don't watch my videos out of some sense of obligation or because you feel like you're doing me a favour. I like to think you watch them because you genuinely enjoy them. And by that logic, I don't owe you shit. I'm not gonna thank you. And by that same token, stop thanking me for making videos. It's my job. I don't make them for you, I make them for me. I know that's become increasingly rare in recent years, but I try to make what I want and not just what people want or expect from me. I guess that's why I'm broke. You don't owe me shit, right? God, what a weird bunch of people we all are. Those who I do have to thank are my higher tier patrons, which I'm going to do at the end of today's video because it's highly likely that I won't be making another one for quite a while. More on that later. Thank you to Cheesy Chip, Mike Archer, Mike Craig, Good Chicken, Captain L, Chris Monk, Flashing Fire, Tale of the Toaster, Waldington, Justin Duncan Mills, Heis Van Duren, Super, Isaac Vermeer, The Ghost of Karl Marx in 4D, Isaac, Elliot Joyce, Raven, Boomer Callus, Salad Dinner, The Great Fantus, Fuad Lahoud, Binbag Fan 69, Chad Ocho, Upscale Fairy Trash, Kinslow TN, Cod DN, Ethan Parker, Swalters 17, Jordan O'Boyle, Harther, Ewan Cassidy, Mojo Franklin, Charnucky, and a Big C and his trusty Glock. Thank you all again, my patrons that is. I greatly look forward to all of your comments about how I'm just moulding or something. As a matter of fact, I'm banking on them. And I'll see you all again soon. Kinda.